Alright, FLL Lesson 71. We're going to be reviewing quite a few things. We're going to start by reviewing conjunctions. So junction means joining. Highway signs that say junction mean two roads ahead are joining together. So in grammar, a conjunction is a word that joins words or groups of words together. So say that to yourself over and over again. A conjunction is a word that joins words or groups of words together. Conjunction is a word that joins words or groups of words together. The three most common are and, or, and but. The but is spelled B-U-T. It's not B-U-T-T. So, it's not as silly. And, or but. Okay. Look at exercise 1. We're going to read two sentences that use these conjunctions, and we're going to circle each conjunction. Conjunctions are already written in bold print, and the two words that are joined are underlined. Okay. So, number 1, girls and boys are music students. So just go ahead and circle the conjunction. I'll let you do 2 on your own. I think you get the point. It's pretty straightforward. Now, exercise 2. We're going to read the 2 sentences and look at the diagram of the second. Notice that the second sentence has 2 verbs in the predicate. So musicians tuned and practice. Do you remember the word predicate comes from the Latin word predicare? You would know if I said that right or not. Meaning to proclaim. The predicate of a sentence is what is said or proclaimed about the subject. What is said or proclaimed about the musicians? That they tuned and practice. So circle the conjunction in that sentence. The conjunction and joins 2 verbs together, tuned and practice. When the predicate of a sentence has 2 or more verbs joined by a conjunction, we call it a compound predicate. The word compound just means it's made up of of 2 or more parts. So circle the conjunction, and then let's look at the diagram. The verb line here is split into 2 because we have 2 different verbs. Tuned is written on the top because it's what comes first in the sentence. Practice is written on the bottom line because it comes next. They're joined by the conjunction and. And then musicians, your subject, goes on the subject line. So let's look now at exercise 3. Nan and Ray sang. Kind of a similar thing, right? But a little different because instead of a compound predicate, we have a compound subject. That means there's more than one subject. So here, our subjects are Nan and Ray. We have 2. So circle the conjunction and then let's look at its diagram. Remember, when diagramming, you always kind of want to look at the verb first. So our verb is sang, and that goes on the verb line like normal. But we have 2 subjects. So notice it splits off into 2 different subject lines. Nan comes first in the sentence, so she's on the top, and Ray comes second, so he's on the bottom. And they're joined by the conjunction and. Now let's look at exercise 4. We're going to read the sentence, circle the conjunction, and then fill in the diagram. Jane and Grace listened. Okay, circle your conjunction. And now let's think about our diagram. What is our verb here? Listened. So let's start by putting listened on our verb line. We only have 1 verb here. What we do have more than one of is our subject. We have 2 subjects, Jane and Grace. Jane, since she comes first, will go on the top line, and Grace will go on the bottom one, and they'll be joined by the conjunction and, so and goes inside your little triangle. Okay. Now, exercise 5. We're going to diagram a simple sentence with 2 verbs in the predicate and 2 nouns in the subject. Let's look at our first sentence. Singers and dancers laugh or talk. So let's find our 2 subjects, our compound subject. That would be singers and dancers, right? Singers are laughing or talking, and dancers are laughing or talking. Excuse me. So, that's our subject. Our subject is both singers and dancers. Our verbs are laugh or talk, right? We have 2 verbs. First, before we diagram, circle your conjunctions. You have 2 here. And then let's turn our attention to the diagram. So with our diagram, like always, we want to find our verbs first. I've already said they're laugh or talk. Which one of those comes first? Laugh. So we're going to go to our frame here, and we're going to find where we would put our verbs. And since laugh comes first, laugh will go on the top line of that fork. Talk will go at the bottom. And they're joined not by and, but the conjunction or. So or will go inside that little triangle. Now, let's think about our subjects. Our subjects are singers and dancers. Singers comes first, so it'll go on the top line of our subject's fork. And dancers will go on the bottom. And is the conjunction that holds them together and will go inside the triangle. Okay. Exercise 6 is very similar to exercise 5. So I'm going to let you try that on your own. Go ahead and pause me and do 6 on your own. If you have questions, ask a parent. Now I'm going to move on to exercise 7. Okay. Exercise 7. We're going to read some rules about commas. And then I want you to copy the correctly written sentences onto the lines of your workbook. In sentence 1, there is a series of nouns in the subject. In sentence 2, there is a series of nouns in the predicate. And in sentence 3, there is a series of phrases. Okay. So the rule, use commas to separate items in a series. Violins, comma, violas, comma, and cellos are musical instruments with strings, period. Copy that down, paying close attention to where you put your commas and the space it gives you. And then go ahead and also do that for sentences 2 and 3. Pause me. I'm going to move on to exercise 8. In exercise 8 of your workbook, I want you to read each sentence and add commas to the appropriate places. The first will contain single words in a series in the subject. The second will contain single words in a series in the predicate. And the third will contain phrases in a series. Notice, those are exactly like the ones you just did, but they don't have the commas already written out for you. So if you need to look back at exercise 7 for a hint, you can to know where to put commas. But go ahead, pause me, do those sentences on your own. If you have questions, ask a parent. I'm going to go to exercise 9. Okay. You also use commas when you talk directly to someone and you mention someone else in the conversation. Listen to this sentence. You, Sam, and I need to be at the youth orchestra practice early. Not only is it correct grammar, it is good manners. It is polite to open a door for someone else before you walk through it yourself. It is polite for you to say other person's names, before mentioning your own. So in exercise 9 of your workbook, read the sentences that show the polite way to talk directly to someone when you mention yourself and another person. Sentence 1 has commas placed correctly, and you will add commas to sentences 2 and 3. So let's look at 1 together and talk about it, and then I'll let you do 2 and 3 on your own. You, comma, Greg, comma, and I will practice together before Friday's rehearsal. Commas are in the correct place. So I'll let you do 2 and 3 on your own, and then I'm going to move on. So items in a series can be nouns in the subject or verbs in the predicate. Items in a series can also be direct objects, predicate nominatives, or predicate adjectives. So let's look at exercise 10. This sentence has 3 direct objects. Remember, a direct object receives the action of the action verb. We're going to write our direct objects on this diagram when we get to it, from the one that comes first in the sentence, second, and third. Percussionists play xylophones, timpani, and gongs. So first, we like to find our verb. Our verb spot is in the middle here, so our verb is play. Play will go right in the middle. Who's playing? Who is our subject? Percussionists. Percussionists play. Now we get to our direct objects. What do they play? They play xylophones, timpani, and gongs. So the top part will be xylophones, middle timpani, third gongs. And then you'll want to put your conjunction and in the triangle. I wonder if you've played any of these, Lavelle. Timpani seems pretty cool. I bet you've played a lot of these. I bet you mostly play snare, though. Snare's really cool, too. Any drum is cool. Now let's look at exercise 11. This is the same thing, but there's some adjectives thrown in and adverbs. But I'm going to let you try these 2 on your own in exercise 11. If you need help, and they're not, another note. So the last one we diagrammed had 3 direct objects that receive the action of the action verb. Exercise 11 has 3 predicate nominatives. So those are when you have a linking verb and they rename the subject. Exercise 12 has 3 predicate adjectives. So that those describe the subject, still with a linking verb. But they're diagrammed very similarly. The only difference in the diagram, after the verb, instead of a straight line, you have a slanted one, right? Because it's kind of like it's pointing back to the subject. I'll let you do those on your own, have a parent look over them, ask them questions if you need to, and have a wonderful day.